The reason you're still invisible has nothing to do with strategy, your confidence, or your consistency. And it's definitely not because you don't work hard enough. You know exactly what to do. You can post consistently, show up on video, share your expertise, be visible, grow your business. You know this. You've known this for years, and yet you write the post, you delete it, rewrite it, never hit publish. You plan the video, do the hair, sit down, and suddenly you got 17 reasons why today isn't quite the right day. You raise your prices, someone books, and immediately, instead of celebrating, you spend the evening wondering if you've made a terrible mistake because you're clearly not going to be able to deliver. The gap between knowing and doing, it's not your weakness, that's not who you are. So, what is it? Here's what I know after spending a decade working with over 6,000 entrepreneurs and many years living this pattern myself. You're running old files. Think about your laptop. When it starts slowing down, freezing, crashing at the worst possible moment, you don't assume your laptop is broken. You know what's happening. The storage is full. Their corrupted data taking up space, a virus, old programs running in the background, using up all the processing power, slowing everything down. Your visibility problem is exactly this. Your nervous system has been collecting data your entire life. Every time you put yourself out there and got silence or rejection or someone tearing you apart, every time you are told directly or indirectly, don't stand out, stay agreeable, be capable, quietly, sit in your box. Your system filed all of it, stored it, and now decades later, when you go to post on social media or press go on a launch or put your prices up, that old data runs automatically in the background, not as a conscious thought, but it knee jerks into must find safety now. Here's what that can look like. A sudden urge to tidy the kitchen, finally do the ironing pile, meal plan for the next month, or go down the Canva rabbit hole. Some call it procrastination. It's not. Your system doesn't know it's 2026. It doesn't know you're a capable, experienced, incredible woman who has built something amazing. It just knows that being visible once felt dangerous, and it is absolutely committed to keeping you safe from that happening again. You don't have a visibility problem, you have an outdated nervous system problem. You have an old filing system, and that is running your business. Strategy won't fix this, another course won't fix this, more discipline won't fix this, because none of those things touch the files. I spent years trying to override mine. I had great strategies. I worked with incredible people. I built businesses that looked successful from the outside. And still, I was second guessing every decision. Really, I was hit with the same blocks again and again. And until I stopped working on the symptoms with quick fixes and went to the dusty old filing cabinet, the one that nobody really knows exists. That's what I want to show you today. After working with thousands of women just like you and spending years developing what I now call the deep release method, I've identified 11 specific files, 11 patterns, and I've watched clearing them change everything that strategy alone could never touch. I want you to listen to this section very, very differently. Don't take notes, just listen. And I'm going to read to you 11 files. And as I go through them, just notice which one gives you an aha moment, like I'm reading your mind. When you get that feeling, that's not random. That's your filing system flagging exactly what's stopping and blocking your business success. So let's get file one. File one. The classroom instant. Picture the classroom. You're 7 years old. Your name gets called. You stand up to read, all nervous, and you're ready. And somewhere in the middle of the second sentence, the words blur, you stumble, and the class fills with laughter at you. That moment lasted maybe nanoseconds. Your nervous system has been using it as its set point ever since. And now, decades later, you're sitting in front of that screen, and at the same time, the 7-year-old is still in the room. The anxiety is still rising, the self doubt moves in and sets up camp. Something in your gut says, don't do it. And it's not because it's a broken system, it's because that 7-year-old who learned that being hurt, she hasn't had the memo that it's safe now. File 2. The raised eyebrow. Your nervous system clocked it before you even knew it was happening. The sibling who got cut down for being too loud. The parent whose eyebrow just said everything without a word being spoken. The teacher made an example of the girl who was just too chatty. You watched, you learned, and you gradually disappeared so completely that somewhere along the way you forgot who you actually were. And now, when it's time to speak up, to share your excellent work, to take up space that you deserve, your wiring shuts it down before you even get there. You don't decide not to post, you just don't post. You don't decide to stay quiet in the meeting, you just don't find the voice to speak. That's decades of outdated wiring, doing exactly what it was built to do. It needs a full rewire. The next file. Always be the strong one. You were probably the child who read the room before you read the book, who knew when the atmosphere had shifted before anyone spoke, who adjusted, managed, smoothed things over, not because anyone asked you to, because you learned early that keeping the peace, that was your job. And now it's second nature. And nobody ever said thank you because nobody even noticed. Fast forward to now. You're not caring for one person, you're caring for everyone. Aging parents, kids who still need you in ways you didn't anticipate, a partner, a household, a business that needs you to be visible to survive, and a body that's running on the last reserves of an already empty tank. The experts say post 3 times a day, be on 5 platforms, launch every quarter, and your wiring does the maths in about half a second. More visible means more clients. More clients means more demand. More demand means more of what you don't have. So your out of date wiring closes the laptop, not because you're not committed, because the tank is literally empty and it knows it. Let's move on to file 4, Hopeland. Hopeland. You did everything right. You built the reputation, put in the years, became the person people came to for that specific thing. And for a long time, it fitted. And then quietly, without even anything dramatic happening, it stopped fitting. Your work has evolved, you've evolved. But your identity, the bio, the messaging, the way you introduce yourself at a networking event, that stayed exactly where it was. You know it needs to change, but your why remembers what it took to build what you have, the years, the credibility, the trust. And it is absolutely not willing to risk that on an announcement that might confuse people, might not land, might make them wonder if you've lost the plot. So you sit in what I call Hopeland, quietly repositioning, changing your bio every 72 hours, trying to get it to fit, praying the transition somehow happens without having to make a noise about it. It won't, because the old data is wedged so tightly in the filing cabinet, there's simply no room for the new to get its pinky toe in. Until you release the old, the new version of you has nowhere to go. File 5. Who do you think you are file? Think about the first time you heard adults talk about money. Maybe the conversation stopped the moment you walked in the room. Maybe it came with arguments behind closed doors, tight faces at the dinner table. Maybe you were told directly or by the atmosphere alone that wanting more than you had was greedy, selfish, that people who charged what they were worth were showing off, that good people didn't talk about money. Your wiring filed every bit of it. And now you're a woman with real expertise, real results, real value. And every time you go to charge what you're actually worth, that old data fires. The voice that says, who do you think you are? The one that sounds suspiciously like someone who formed that opinion of you 30 years ago and hasn't updated it since. So you discount on the call. You apologize for your prices before anyone's even questioned them. You stayed just visible enough to get by because getting more visible means charging more, and charging more means that voice gets louder. That's not imposter syndrome. That's decades of old data running your pricing strategy. File 6. Make them proud contract. Cast your mind back. You were probably the one who made the family proud. The qualification, the career, the reputation. You did what was expected and you did it well. Because somewhere along the way, their approval became the measure of your worth. And now you want something different. You want to work in your passion, do what lights you up. Step into something that doesn't fit the version of success that they had in mind for you. And that moment you go to make that move, their voice arrives, condemning. Who do you think you are? Don't throw away what you've built. What will people think of you? What will people say about us? You're hearing criticism from the people whose opinion, who mattered most back then. And it became the filing system you've been running on ever since. This is legacy awareness. It makes complete sense given what shaped you. But here's what it's costing you. The file marked Old Me is so crammed full, it's wedged shut. And right behind it, completely buried, gathering dust, is a file with everything you actually want now. The real work, your passion, the version of business that lights you up. Holding on to the old identity isn't keeping you safe. It's standing in the doorway, blocking everything you actually came here to do. And until those old files are released, the new ones stay in hope and pray land. 7. The public dismantling. You've been here before. Maybe it was school play. Maybe you forgot your lines. Not one line, the whole thing just went. And the silence from the audience was worse than any laughter could have been. Or maybe it was a meeting where you finally spoke up. You put your idea forward and someone dismantled it in front of everyone, not privately, publicly. And you sat there nodding like it was fine. Or the launch that you poured everything into, the one you told people about, the one that came back with crickets so loud you could hear them in your sleep. You know it was one moment, one meeting, one launch, but it's stuck inside your gut like glue and inside your nervous system. Your wiring filed that experience under this is what happens when you put yourself out there. And it's been pulling that file ever since. File 8, the self-doubt. Self-doubt. You didn't start this business to shout into an algorithm void. Think about why you actually started, the excitement where you knew what you were supposed to do, with what you knew, with the people that you could help, the difference you could make. It felt clear, it felt right, it was passion, it was excitement, it was momentum on steroids. It was solid and certain. And then the noise started. At first, you think it's helpful, but then you hear the rules, the noise, the conflicting information. Post every day, be on every platform, hook them in the first 3 seconds, batch your content, repurpose everything, show your face, share your story, get on video, stay relevant. And somewhere between trying to keep up and trying to be everywhere, you lost why you started. The version of visible everyone is selling feels like standing in the middle of a motorway trying to have a meaningful conversation with a lovely Robin. Your old wiring does what a sensible pre-programmed system would do. It does what it's meant to do, keeps you safe. It withdraws, it retracts, not because you're afraid of being seen, but because the version of visible you've been sold has nothing to do with the work you actually came here to do. That file doesn't need deleting, it needs completely rewriting. The bedroom, file 9. Maybe home wasn't always calm. Maybe there was arguing, tension that filled every room, siblings that fought, parents who mood set the temperature for the whole house. The only place that felt safe was your bedroom, quiet, doors closed, private, just you. Your wiring learned early that noise meant danger, that retreat meant safety. And now, every expert telling you that visibility means noise, more platforms, more content, more performing, more being on, the algorithm changes yet again. A new platform arrives that apparently everyone's behind it. The volume keeps climbing, and your wiring does exactly what it's trained to do. It retreats, closes the bedroom door, goes quiet. You tell yourself social media is just not for you, that you'll come back to it when things just calm down. But that's not a you now decision. That's decades old data running a protection response that made complete sense when you were 10 years old in that bedroom trying to avoid the crazy. File 10, the good girl mask. Be good, be quiet, follow the plan, don't make a fuss. You probably wore that mask so well for so long that it stopped feeling like a mask. It just became who you were. The good girl, the one who did what she was told to do, the one who followed the rules and made it work and never really questioned whether the rules were actually right for her. And now you're in a business doing exactly the same thing. Investing in the guru's framework, implementing their strategy, using their language, showing up the way they said to show up, being good, being compliant, following the plan. And somewhere in the middle of doing everything right, you lost yourself completely. Your showing up sounded like a cut price version of the last person you invested in. Posting content you don't believe in, using words that aren't yours, performing a version of visible that feels like wearing someone else's clothes in someone else's life entirely. And underneath all of it, the real you is sitting in the corner. This isn't me. This has never been me. That's because the file marked "It's okay to be me" was overridden back in 1989 with "You must fit in." The last one, file 11, the biggest one, the failure file. This is the one that's running in under almost everything. This isn't who you are. These were moments captured during the lifetime that to your nervous system felt like proof. It's I'm not good enough, I'm a failure, I'm not as good as others. And it comes from often the smallest of experiences. Your father says, "Can't you be more like your sister?" Your teacher says, "Must try harder." Your first boyfriend said, "You're dumped." Your first meeting at work when your idea gets slam dunked. This is what happens when you get enough of this data and slowly you stop trusting the person who made them, you. Every launch you second guessed, every time you pulled something down too early, every moment you trusted your instincts and it didn't go the way it hoped. Layer by layer, quietly, your trust in your own judgment got worn down. And now when it's time to be visible, to make the call, post the thing, charge the rate, claim the space, there's a hesitation that has nothing to do with your capability and everything to do with the filing system full of evidence that you get it wrong. You don't, but the files say otherwise until they are shredded. Take a moment right now. How many of those landed? One? Several? Did you get to number 4 and think, "She's been reading my diary"? Here's what I want you to understand. Every single one of those patterns makes complete sense to your nervous system, given what created them. And there are many files in that cabinet that are personal to you. Your nervous system isn't broken. It doesn't have logic. It's data driven. It's doing exactly what it's designed to do. It's been given the data and now it's protecting you based on the data it's been given. The problem is the data is old. It hasn't been processed. It hasn't been shredded. Decades old in some cases. And you are trying to build a visible, sustainable, thriving dream business with a filing system that was last updated sometime in the 90s. That is not a you problem. That's a nervous system data problem. That data can be updated. So the question everyone asks at this point, if it's not strategy, not discipline, not another course, what actually fixes it? The answer is the one thing most Coaches, courses will never touch because it A doesn't sell the program, it doesn't fit the webinar, and it requires going somewhere most people can't go. You have to clear the files, not manage them, not work around them, not build elaborate systems to compensate for them. We clear them. I spent years trying to override mine. I hit my first 10K month, and instead of celebrating, I spent the next day white knuckling my way towards doubling it because it was running a file called I'll Never Be Good Enough. And that one ended in burnout. I launched a program, sold 8 out of 10 places. Most people would be thrilled. And I spent a week crucifying myself, doubting everything because I was wearing the I'm a failure hat, and 8 out of 10 couldn't get through the brim of it. The strategies didn't touch it, the coaches didn't touch it, the courses didn't make it mark because none of them went to where the file lived. And here's what I mean by that. Your nervous system is like a hard drive holding old corrupted files. The time you were laughed at reading aloud in class, the moment you were mocked in the meeting, the day you found out you'd been cheated on, your system didn't just record those moments, it filed them, categorized them, and built an automatic response for next time. Every time you go to post, pitch, price up, or put yourself forward, your hard drive runs those files. Not because you're doing something wrong, because that's what hard drives do with stored data. You can't think your way out of a nervous system that's still in protection mode. Understanding why doesn't change how your body responds. Clearing what's stuck does. You don't know how Wi-Fi works, right? You don't know how electricity gets to your kettle, but you trust both completely. My system, the deep release method, works the same way. I'm not asking you to understand how the mechanism works. I'm just going to show you what happens when the files are cleared. That's what the deep release method goes after, not the post that you deleted, not the pricing you keep avoiding, not the launch you're overthinking, the file underneath all of it, the original data that created the response in the first place. When that file is found and it's cleared, really cleared, not managed, not reframed, not journaled your way out of, not white knuckled into submission, the behavior built on top of it simply stops. Not through massive effort, through discipline, through tracking. One of my clients described it perfectly. I don't know what she does, but it's just gone, like it was never there. That's what happens when you stop treating the symptoms and go straight to the filing cabinet. So that's the filing system. That's what's actually running underneath the visibility struggle most women like you have been fighting for decades. And I want to ask you something before you go. How long have you been managing this? Working around it, investing in strategies to compensate for it, trying to push through it with willpower that keeps running out? What would it mean to just clear it, not manage it, not reframe it, not rebuild another system to work around it, actually clear the files so the ceiling simply isn't there anymore? That's what I do through the deep release method. I work remotely, no knife calls, no performing your problems to a stranger, no tears, no tissues, no tantrums, to identify exactly which files are running in your system and clear them at the root. The women I work with don't describe it as breakthrough moments or mindset shifts. They describe it as gone, mind-blowing, like it was never there. If that's what you're ready for, not another strategy, not another course, but the actual filing cabinet, come and find out how we can work together. The link is below and I'd love to meet you there.